Well, 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team arrived in court this morning for jury selection in their sex assault trial. They're accused of sexually assaulting a woman in London in 2018 following a gala celebrating the team's gold medal win. A jury selection could take a couple days to complete. Dylan Dubé, Cal Foote, Alex Formanton, Carter Hart, and Michael McLeod, they all pleaded not guilty today. The alleged victim filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit in 2022, which was settled out of court using part of a Hockey Canada fund that had been set aside to resolve similar cases. And joining us now for more on this trial is Allison Craig, criminal defense lawyer at Posner, Craig, Stein. Thank you very much for taking time to speak with us this afternoon. So let's just start off with the obvious, the not guilty pleas.
Not a surprise, obviously. If you've gotten to this point and, jury selection day, you're generally going to be pleading not guilty. So that's obviously not a surprise.
Okay, let's talk about what role or effect, this multi-million-dollar lawsuit that was settled out of court will have in all of this.
Good question. My expectation would be none. I'm sure there were pretrial motions about that and whether or not the contents of it or the fact that it exists at all are admissible. We won't find that out for a while because there would be a publication ban on that until the jury starts deliberating. So I'm sure there were discussions about that, and the defense lawyers may want to use the contents of it, whether it be affidavits or whatever, in order to cross-examine the complainant. There may be information from that the Crown wants admitted, so we'll have to wait and see, but it may well be a part of it.
And so jury selection is supposed to take about 2 days. Let's talk about what the lawyers are going to look for in terms of striking out potential jurors, because this has gotten a lot of attention.
It does. We no longer, up until a few years ago, defense lawyers were allowed to basically just kick off a certain number of members of the potential jury panel for no reason at all. That is no longer in existence. We can't do that. But what the jurors are being asked, as I understand it, is whether or not they know about the case from the media, and if so, whether or not that media coverage has made them impartial. In other words, can you, despite knowing about this case in the media, can you still judge it impartially based on the evidence that you hear in this courtroom only? And each juror is going to be asked that. And if they say, no, I don't think I'll be able to be impartial, they'll be removed from the potential jury panel.
And, with the popularity of hockey, a lot of people are going to be following along. What are some things that, people should look for and maybe not find surprising as we get more information?
Well, I think people should not be surprised if the complainant is on the stand for many days on end. In most sexual assault trials, the complainant will be cross-examined by one lawyer because there's one accused. Here, there's going to be 5 lawyers cross-examining the complainant, and that will take probably many days. They likely each have different things that they want to ask her about. So I expect that the complainant will be testifying for many, many days, and obviously that'll be very difficult to go through. And it'll be interesting to see. We saw the whole long list of potential witnesses read out this morning. And just because there's potential witnesses read out doesn't mean they're actually going to be called, but they're all read out out of an abundance of caution. But there's a whole lot of other hockey players from that team that were read out today. So it'll be interesting to see who else testifies and what potential relevant evidence they have to give.
And, as we wrap up, this may be an obvious question, but, what is the expected result at the end of this trial?
There's no way to know, obviously, but it's very difficult to get a conviction in a sexual assault trial. There does not have to be any evidence corroborating what a complainant says. That's the law. But often that's what potential jurors are looking for, despite being told in all likelihood they don't need that. So it may depend in part on whether there's video or what these other witnesses have to say about what they observed. But it's also very difficult to get a conviction because generally these cases come down to credibility. And this is something that happened many, many years ago. And there's going to be 5 different lawyers cross-examining this complainant, likely trying to impeach her credibility. So I'm not in the business of making predictions, but I will say that it's probably going to be a hard case to secure a conviction in.
Allison Craig, criminal defense lawyer at Posner, Craig, Stein. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.